In Guyana, domestic violence continues to spread like an epidemic, seeping into the fabric of everyday life, affecting thousands of women and girls, men and boys, gathering momentum and bringing fear, misery, violence, death, and destruction. The most pervasive form of domestic violence continues to be violence against women in the home by male partners. This has its root cause in the historical unequal power relations between men and women. This documentary aims to highlight the complex and dynamic nature of domestic violence by giving survivors the chance to tell their stories. Importantly, we have featured the families of a few women who have died at the hands of their partners. These stories demonstrate that domestic violence does not only affect the family, but it is also a community and national problem with far-reaching impact. Guyana is a signatory to several international rights conventions, such as the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, and the Belém do Pará Convention, which recognizes that violence against women is a violation of their human rights. There have been 3 main studies conducted on domestic violence in Guyana. The first, by Dance and Shivprasad in 1989, found that 2 out of 3 women had been beaten at least once by their husband or partner. Red Thread in 2000 found that 1 out of 3 women experienced some type of physical abuse. The third study in 2010 on the incidences and drivers of gender-based violence in Guyana found that 3 out of 5 women reported lifetime experiences with physical violence by an intimate partner, and nearly 2 out of 5 women had experienced at least 1 act of violence within the past 12 months. Help and Shelter in 2009 found that domestic violence occurred very often, and 2 out of 3 women knew at least 1 person who had suffered this form of abuse. Police figures released in late 2011 indicated that 23 murders between November 1, 2010 and October 31, 2011 were domestic related. Furthermore, between November 25, 2011 and November 25, 2012, a total of 31 women were killed. Domestic violence is behavior or a pattern of behavior where, through the use of physical, verbal, sexual, emotional, psychological, and financial abuse, the abuser exerts power and control over the abused person. This results in feelings of intimidation, fear, loss of self-worth, physical injuries, and even loss of life.
He drank and locked this house, and then he threw Carol right away around the house and said, "You're gonna kill me and the children." And I started squealing in the house because I just imagined he's gonna strike the match anytime, and this is Carol. How fast could we get out? And then I have these small children. How much of them I would save?
Are you afraid of the person you love? Do you spend a lot of time in fear or in stressed out because you don't know if your life is going to be threatened by this person who you're supposed to love?
Domestic violence can occur between family members and those in a current or estranged marriage, legal or common law. It is a crime and is punishable under Guyana's laws.
The abuse started by slapping.
But I say it's just a slap, and I didn't take it for nothing. And eventually, from one slap, it turned to a beating.
Kick you, cuff you, and start from there to break jaw, break foot.
He hold me by my shoulder and pull me down, push me onto the chair, and the chair had a nail, and it ripped me straight across here.
When he weary beat with wood, that man take off his shoes and lash me with it. When he done with his shoes, he kicked me like a ball. When he started to stab me. I ended up in a coma. Yeah. That, like for 3 days.
He used to beat her a lot. Sometime in the middle of the night, neighbors gotta run out to her rescue.
What are the psychological effects of domestic violence on women?
They begin to feel so badly about themselves. There's very low self-concept, low self-worth, and what that does to people is to make them behave in abnormal ways.
It started troubling my nerves, like forgetting things. Night time I get up and like, well, my only daughter one time, I go for shy over the landing.
He beat me so bad that I don't know what to do. I said better kill all these children and myself.
I go on the bed and I pull out the pipe and I say, if you hit me one more time, I'm going to drink this thing. I open the thing and I pour in it like if there's no tomorrow. I say, well, me ain't afraid to meet me makeup. And somebody going to tell the other brother who lives down the road, and he run up the road. When he run up the road now, he get a car for me. And he come with me to the hospital.
I was still by the gardens on home stretch, like 11 o'clock the night with my daughter walking, and I didn't know what's going on.
Abusers generally believe they have the right to have control, authority, and domination over their partners. To receive domestic, sexual, and emotional services from their partner and other family members in return for being the provider and protector of the family, and to discipline wrongdoers in the family, especially their partner.
There is this notion that a man is the head of the household, that he is the boss, that everything should be done to either please him or at least to prevent him from getting angry enough. So if a man gets angry and hits, more often than not, the woman is blamed for having done something wrong for which she ought to be punished.
So society is so calm, so nice. If you can't even have a flight. So people won't know that, hey, this is an abuser. And or you be around his friends. And the thing is about it that these same abusers, they talk so nice when they're on a friend about the family. Hey, I don't make jokes with my family, I treat my family good. And then there's be the ones that it's be abusing the spouse.
Abusers tend to be possessive and feel they have ownership over their partners. If they can't have you, no one else can.
The loss of this power, that this is someone who's violating my power and leaving, and therefore it's a challenge to manhood, a challenge to masculinity and perceptions of what masculinity is.
While some physical scars may disappear and heal over time, psychological effects can be overwhelming and long-lasting. The ultimate effect of domestic violence can be death. On the 3rd of January 2011, Sally Mohan was brutally attacked and murdered by her recently estranged husband. 21-year-old Sally had ended the abusive relationship and returned to her family's home. On the night of her murder, Sally's husband crept into the home and repeatedly stabbed her. Her family heard her cries for help but could do nothing to save her.
She me kuhala for me. Nani. And me just run down the step and me gone at the back there. When me gone at the back there, me see the boy jump out the window at the back door and he gone all over black he had on. And when me call for she now no hands and me walk in and go in the room, she had the long sock and she get you see pure blood.
In December 2011, Jenny discovered the nude and lifeless body of her only daughter, Ayana. Next to Ayana's body, her spouse lay fast asleep. He was arrested and charged for her murder. Their son lost a mother to domestic violence, and his father is now in prison.
And she go home back like in the afternoon when she done work, she go over to my house, and then the next day she murder.
One pack of milk started the argument between Carmelita Jones and her partner. She had brought home the milk for their infant, and he accused her of receiving it from another man.
He claiming it's a man give her, and it wasn't a man. It's my cousin. My mother niece give her up on me. And because she says somebody gave me the milk, he says it's a man.
Following the argument, he lit Carmelita on fire and she was rushed to the hospital with severe burns.
She told me that he gave her a lamp to hold and he threw the kerosene, I don't know. She got burns like her stomach, her two hands, her head. Well, the face get a bit scorched because, you know, the fire. All her legs, her back.
A week later, on the 26th of September 2012, she succumbed to her injuries, leaving behind her 4 young children. Why is it that so many women continue to stay in abusive relationships? This has to do with a process referred to as entrapment. Entrapment usually starts with social isolation.
I was not allowed to go anywhere. If I wanted to come home to my father and see my father, I had to get away.
Even if the family do come, like, you can't really talk to nobody for too long.
Me suggest now that this boy used to must either stress this girl not to tell me anything. Because I can observe when they come here together, them always dead together.
The first thing they try to do is to make you get a child. And when you get this child now, you don't want to leave because who's gonna help you with this child? Sometimes you're not in your relative them don't afford to take you in with a child. And no relative keep you, none.
I would ask them, well, what do you think mommy should do? And they all said, mommy should leave.
I really thought I love the man bad. And, you know, I couldn't imagine life without him.
Women don't feel they're strong enough emotionally to leave someone who is beating them or chasing them or, you know, treating them badly.
They always go and move her out, and he would come back and he would beg her, and she would go back.
Many of the women who have spoken about going back have said that they've had a variety of reasons for going back, and those reasons are complex and very personal to them.
Women also get entrapped through financial dependency.
He made me leave my job and said we can start a life on our own. We used to go out and left nothing for eat. I used to go to the day coconut estate, get some money for pick, peel and fetch.
When I come and I tired, I didn't take out the money right away to give him. And he threw all the food on the mat, so we don't have anything to give. When I thought he started beat me, shake out my bag, take all the money and he gone and drink.
Religious belief.
I complained to the pastor and he told me fast and pray, don't leave.
It is true that many pastors and church leaders tend to take the position that a family must stay together.
I would not, however, doubt that some religions may allow itself to be interpreted in such a way as to permit levels of violence against women.
Islam teaches that women are equal to men, and this is something people don't understand. They are equal to men. A man has 1 degree above her because he is responsible for her protection.
We Hindus worship Durga. We say it's perhaps the only religion where, you know, God is seen as woman. So what should it mean to us? What should it mean to us to worship Lakshmi, mother of the universe, Durga, queen of the universe, right? Because the women for us represent this Durga and this Lakshmi in our homes. So I go to temple and I worship Lakshmi, but the Lakshmi who is in front of me, there is no other Lakshmi than the one who is in front of me. That one I brutalize, but I pretend to go and worship Lakshmi in the temple.
Women also get entrapped through poor health, fear for life, guilt, loss of self, hopelessness, threats against children, emotional blackmail, belief that their partner can change, the cycle of abuse, and being exposed as children to domestic violence in the home.
Remember, they're the good times that always hold us to these abusive partners. We remember when things were nice. We remember when the partner did all the wonderful things and came and called me 20 times a day and how nice it felt.
Children who lose one of their parents to domestic violence are perhaps the most forgotten survivors of domestic abuse and are often confronted with shattered lives and an uncertain future.
Even when she was pregnant, he used to beat her terribly bad.
A lot of people have this misconception that when a child is very small, a baby, you can say and do anything in front of it. But that's not true, because everything is being registered and will have some repercussion later in life.
The baby, 6 months, and the 3 plus was with her. But the child can't really talk so good. All she say, Daddy born mommy.
Only this morning he tell me Ma can see mother crying, so we say the mother there and he came me to the picture and he say look she crying. I ask him why he crying for, he said that his father born she.
Some of the effects have to do with a child becoming depressed. You will see children acting strangely. They can become withdrawn. They can internalize that pain that they see happening in their homes, either to the mother or to the father.
Teachers them can't find out that this child is come to school and she don't be focused on her work. She just say, she'll be crying when I ask her what Daddy beat up my mother.
It's very unfortunate and really sad to think that children at that vulnerable age, have to go through so much, they witness so much violence within their home and with the people that they love most, their mother or their father.
Children have bad dreams, nightmares that leave them in fear. They also will learn that violence is the way to get what you want done. They may not always show the effect at 5 years of age, but they'll show it at 16 and 17. And these are your children who are prone to become depressed adults, which of course can also lead to suicidal thoughts and suicide as well when they get to certain levels of depression.
States have a duty to prevent acts of violence against all their citizens and to investigate, prosecute, and punish perpetrators.
Several reports I made to the police station, and all they tell me, go back, is your husband.
I am not in a position to doubt what they have said. What I know that there are cases where persons contacted me, that they made reports and they had some slow response.
They make me go home back with him. The police. And I get a licking so that I can even remember what is my name.
I believe that was in the earlies, that kind of situation. But more and more as we conduct the training, as we have our regular instruction classes, as we deal with those persons who we find lacking, you find that situation has changed.
She make a lot of reports, a lot, and no police come to her rescue.
I go to station, but he's the police, so they just say settle the matter.
The act is not only for persons who are not in law enforcement, for everyone. And if a police man or woman commits themselves and a report is made, action will be taken. We have developed a policy on domestic violence. We have a zero tolerance policy in that once the report is made, we are mandated to investigate the report, arrest the perpetrator, interview the perpetrator also. Once we have evidence, we prosecute. Where there's no evidence to prosecute, we do referrals for counseling. We have no authority, based on our policy, to settle any matter. If the person returns to the station sometime after and asks for the matter to be settled, the rank's supposed to ensure that matter goes before the court, let them take that proposal to the magistrate.
What should abused victims do?
Women in abusive relationships should get out at an early stage from the beginning, because I think if I had come out at an early stage, it wouldn't have been me to that stabbing.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, destroy you.
One has to counsel that woman. One has to make that woman feel good about herself. that she's able to leave that relationship when it's destroying her.
You don't have to say it. You don't have to go through what I been through. You don't have to go through emotional, mental, physically stress. You could come out.
In terms of families, in terms of people who are preparing people for marriage and relationships, is actually talking about what abuse looks like and actually looking also what a healthy relationship looks like. And so important to have that conversation. We always talk about sex education, we never really talk about relationship education.
Tell this man what you want from him. Let he tell you what you want, what he wants from you. If you want to, anytime he stop you for work, get along with friends, family, your neighbors, you got to think again, because that is the way they isolate you. And you don't have nobody to rescue you when the time comes.
As a survivor of violence, that sometimes when you're in that situation, you just need somebody to talk to. Not to give you directions, but just to talk to.
It's important for victims to tell their stories, whoever the victims are. It's important for people not to stigmatize or blame. It's important for all of us to learn.
We need to talk to the perpetrators as well and get them to understand that this is a human being, this is somebody who they vowed to love and to live with and have children with and have a home with, and nobody should or ought to be violated.
What can the community do?
In a community, in a neighborhood where people can do something about it, where people can speak up, because this woman was being beaten for 23 years. People, they said they know, they've heard, but have done nothing. And the church cannot be a church. You can't just go sit and worship. It has no meaning if you are not connected with the cries of people in your own neighborhood.
The community, whoever that community is, should help about educating, because people are believing that they're living up to what the community expects of them. In communities where alcohol is present, communities should really work hard to remove alcohol. Alcohol and other drugs are entering communities, and this is present in a lot of the violence.
When violence plays out in a community, the community, though a microcosm of the society, the community is where it happens. So even before it reaches to the court system, the police, people in the community need to be more aware of the connecting dots. So it's more of what we can do at the early stage of growth, especially for young boys or young males.
In the case of males, the males who are being abused are very shy to come out because of the stigma. They're being mocked at by other males, be a man, do this, even some of them reported. They went to the police and reported, and they were heckled, We have to stop that. It's happening and it's real, and we need to help.
I would wish to encourage, and I believe I will speak on behalf of the force, to encourage the people in community, leaders of communities, to encourage their people to live in love and unity, and to understand that domestic violence, it hurts not only the victim, but there are rippling effects.
We can try to let them know that we're here, and there's help in case they need it, and do not stay and bear it by yourself, because in most cases it gets really bad, and there's, as you said earlier, 31 women were killed between November last year and November this year. We want to stop that. Even one is too many.
In 1996, the Domestic Violence Act came into law. This law offers protection to abused persons through the enforcement of protection, occupancy, and tenancy orders.
I must say that the Domestic Violence Act has very far-reaching powers where it comes to protecting women who are victims of domestic violence, and not only women, men too. Anyone in a domestic setting and domestic environment who may be threatened or feel threatened by violence.
These court orders prevent the abuser from being in close proximity to where the abused person lives, works, goes to school, or visits. This documentary has highlighted the dynamics of domestic violence and recommendations and best practices for the reduction and elimination of such violence. We acknowledge that men are also victims of abuse and often face stigma and discrimination when reporting these cases. We recognize that even with an impressive legislative, administrative, and policy framework in place to address domestic violence in Guyana, the incidences of domestic violence continue to plague Guyanese society. In closing, we highlight an excerpt from Guyana's National Policy on Domestic Violence, adopted in 2008, which says, "At the root of domestic violence is the real or perceived inequality and subordination of women and children, which extends beyond the individual and family to the wider society." The domestic violence policy also recognizes that there must be a multi-sectoral response which works with community-based interventions and all interest groups. It is the view of Help and Shelter that the full implementation of the National Domestic Violence Policy still remains the most relevant and comprehensive national mechanism for the reduction and elimination of domestic violence in Guyana. Domestic violence is everyone's business. We must all be involved if we are to be successful as a country in removing this scourge. To quote from our national poet Martin Carter, "Like the jig shakes the loom, like the web is spun the pattern, all are involved, all are consumed." If you or someone you know is being abused, please call Help and Shelter on 227-3454, 225-4731 or the nearest police station.